Well, hello everyone. This is Pam. It is Tuesday, May 26th, and welcome to the reading of the Mansfield News Journal. We begin today's reading with area deaths. Bobby D. Dowell, 84, of Galion, passed away May 23. Schneider Gomp Funeral Home is assisting the family. Arlene Knapp, age 86, of Mansfield, passed away Tuesday in Cody Regional Long-Term Care. Private interment will be in Mansfield Cemetery, with a memorial service following Friday at 1 p.m. in Lexington Avenue Snyder Funeral Home. Jackie Moxley, 73, of Ontario, Ohio, peacefully passed away at her home on Saturday. Private visitation will be held for the family. A graveside service will be held on May 30th at 12:15 p.m. at Mansfield Memorial Park. The Ontario Home of Wapner Funeral Directors is honored to have served the family. Vicki Roberts, 36, of Bucyrus, passed away May 23rd. Schneider Gomp Funeral Home is assisting the family. R. Scott Summerlade, age 47, of Howard, passed away unexpectedly on Friday at the Knox Community Hospital. Friends may call on Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Dowds Snyder Funeral Home. A private family funeral service will be streamed online on the Dowds Snyder Funeral Home's Facebook page beginning at 11 a.m. on Thursday. A public graveside service will be held on Thursday beginning at 12:30 p.m. in Amity Cemetery. Ruth L. Zahn, age 92, formerly of Mansfield, died of natural causes on May 21st. Arrangements are entrusted to Heart and Hope by Schrodinger. Well, my friends, that concludes the Tuesday Mansfield News Journal, our News Journal area death notices. Now let's move on to our first article. Nursing home resident died of COVID-19 by Lou Whitmire. In Mansfield, Will Hartman lost his father to COVID-19 on Wednesday. Richland County's third reported COVID-19 related death was Albert William Hartman Jr., 79, who became ill while living in a long-term care facility, his son said Friday afternoon. His father had not been sick before the pandemic, but was a resident at Liberty Nursing Center of Mansfield at 535 Lexington Avenue. He deserved better than that. Hartman was admitted to Ohio Health Mansfield Hospital Saturday and died Wednesday morning at the hospital at 335 Glessner Avenue, according to his son Will Hartman of Los Angeles. It's a sad day, his son said by telephone. He deserved better than that. I had spoken to him a few days before he was admitted, Will said. The father and son used iPads to communicate with each other. They all loved my dad there, he said of the nursing facility. Everyone knew him there. Will said the hospital called him as it was happening. They kept trying at one point. Thought he was going to be okay, then his kidneys failed, Will said. It was sobering to be hearing this. The hospital was good during everything. Hartman Jr.'s grandfather, Rudolph William Hartman, founded Hartman Electrical Manufacturing in Mansfield. Hartman Jr. was an electrical engineer who graduated from Purdue University. He worked alongside his father, Albert Williams Sr., at the factory. In his later years, the D1 athlete's heart, he rode crew for Purdue, began to fail, as did the razor-sharp electrical engineer's mind. Living a dignified life became a formidable challenge for him, his son said. It was heartbreaking for those of us who knew him before the fall. But through it all, he kept his incredible sense of humor and a remarkable disposition of kindness and humble appreciation towards those tasked with helping him to do daily the things he could no longer achieve unassisted. The victim's son says the nursing home relaxed its zero visitation policy last week. My dad was in a residence home that took early and restrictive lockdown procedures from the onset of this epidemic. Zero visitors. Stringent daily safety protocol for all staff members. For 10 weeks, they avoided any sort of corona outbreak that plagued many similar facilities across the nation. Then, last week, probably because of the politics and pressures rolling many Midwestern states, They relaxed their zero visitation policy to allow essential personnel from the outside to enter. A podiatrist, an optometrist, a couple therapists, people like that, he said in a statement he wrote about his late father. Kathleen Rocks, administrator of Liberty, did not return calls seeking comment. According to the Ohio Department of Health's website, Liberty Nursing Center of Mansfield had 6 resident cases of COVID-19 as of April 15th, the latest date posted. On Saturday, Hartman Jr. was admitted to the hospital. At first, he responded well to treatment, and the doctors were hopeful he'd be able to leave the ICU, Will said. However, as is often the case with this tenacious virus, initial recovery quickly regressed into a downhill fight for survival. Ultimately, the battle was too much, his feeble defenses too overwhelmed, Will said. Hartman Jr. moved to Mansfield about 1945 and resided at 560 Overlook Road. He worked at Hartman Electric and other companies. Hartman Jr. was active in the Mansfield community and served as a board member at the Ohio State Reformatory, the Oak Hill Cottage, the Richland County Historical Society, and he was a member of Mansfield Kiwanis Club and First Congregational Church. Family pleads for people to take the virus seriously and wear a mask in public. Bill Hartman's son said his father will be buried with his parents in Mansfield Cemetery. He does not believe there will be a funeral. COVID-19 is not a hoax. It's not a media exaggeration. If you believe it, then it simply hasn't reached you or someone you love yet. I hope it doesn't. And if it does, I pray you and yours are healthy enough to survive it. Most do, fortunately. But for the sake of those who are at risk, the elderly, the infirm, the people like my father, please, please, please take it seriously. Wear a mask in public, practice proactive, conscientious hygiene, and stay socially distant with strangers. At least until we get a better handle on how to beat this thing, Will said. U.S. Senator Sherrod Brown called Will to offer his condolences regarding his father's death to COVID-19. That meant a lot to me, Will said. His son said a friend wrote him something that sums up his feelings. That my father cannot see me is of no matter. I was once his dream, now he is mine. Will said he wants people to take COVID-19 seriously. Don't view it as impingement of your civil liberties. See it as a selfless, immensely thoughtful act of compassion for those around you who might be less capable. You might save a life. Rest in peace, Dad, Will said. Well, our next article is titled, Veterans Gather for Memorial Day Service. Virus Doesn't Diminish Our Need to Serve and Remember, by Jerry Goebel, Mansfield News Journal. In Mansfield, the veterans participating in the ceremony all wore masks and outnumbered the people attending. Efforts to curb the spread of the novel coronavirus changed the look of Memorial Day observances this year, but not the meaning. The normal parades and services were canceled, but at 10 a.m. on Monday, members of the Joint Veterans Burial Squad gathered in front of the Richland County Courthouse for a short service. I feel that our past veterans deserve this, said Bill Lading, the squad's commander. It's nothing but honor to them. They didn't stop during the war because of a virus. In fact, it probably kept them charging more forward. Raymond Hall is in his first year as a member of the burial squad. It's an honor. I just regret I didn't get into this 20 years ago, he said. This is the very least we can do to honor veterans, Hall said. Even though it's a small crowd, not like the audience we had last year, it's just this small thing to honor the guys who can't be here and honor for what we stood for in this United States. Fred Falls said the COVID-19 pandemic doesn't change the purpose of the day, our remembrance of all of living and deceased who serve and gave our ultimate sacrifice for this country. I think we've all had to make some adjustments in respect to it, but it doesn't diminish our need to serve and remember all those who have served this country. Nancy Ryan, a friend of Leding, was one of about 15 people who came to watch the brief ceremony. We just really admire him for doing this and for all they do and all the funerals of the veterans, she said. We're just so blessed to live in this nation still and to know that young men and women are volunteering for the service now, enough to protect our nation, by the thousands still. It's pretty amazing to know. We just pray for our leadership of our nation too. We really want to honor them and just pray for God's blessings to continue on our country, that we have the freedom that we do. We're losing them quite often and fast. After brief remarks and a prayer, members of the squad fired 3 rifle volleys, and then Korean War veteran Bill Miller played taps. Miller said he served in Korea from 1953 to 1954 and never had any desire to return. I lost a buddy over there, he said, and I won't even go to Washington to see the monument. I'm home and safe. Well, this next article is titled, Mansfield Hires Ackerman as the Director of Community Development by Monroe Trombley. The city has named a new Community Development and Housing Director, Adrian Ackerman, who has been the department's finance officer for 8 years, began work on Monday. It was something that was an eventual dream of mine, Ackerman said in a recent phone interview. It came true a little sooner than expected, but I'm on board and ready to make things happen. Ackerman, 35, replaces Tracy Bond, who was terminated last month after holding the role for less than 2 years. Ackerman has been employed by the city for 15 years, first working in the city jail that closed in 2009, and then the 911 dispatch center. Really, I was looking for more of a typical office-like setting, Ackerman said, of transitioning to the Community Development Office. Dispatch is very demanding in multiple ways. I was looking for a transition to something where I could still be of service to the public, just in a slightly different aspect. Ackerman says she's been blessed with good positions and co-workers throughout her career, has never considered not working for the city. It's always been my desire to stick with the city until I retire, she says. After graduating from Madison Comprehensive High School, Ackerman studied criminal justice at North Central State with peace officer basic training. She had completed hours of training in the Community Development Department, learning the ins and outs of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development programs that the office manages. Ackerman encourages homeowners who may be in need of emergency rehabilitation assistance to call the office and apply for aid. The department's list is short at the moment, she said. Ackerman also shared the news Wednesday that her department is expected to receive an additional $514,410 in community development block grant funding through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities CARES Act, which will be added to the city's 2020 allocation of CDBG money. The additional money can be used to address COVID-19 disease response, as well as the economic downturn that's associated with the virus and subsequent decisions made by other government officials, Ackerman said. There's actually going to be a notice of available funds published Friday, so we can begin accepting applications for that funding. Before Bond was terminated, the department was working with the North End Community Improvement Collaborative, the NECIC, and the local District of Area Agencies on Aging, AAA, on their respectable, affordable housing projects. As Bond had previously suggested, Ackerman said, AAA can reapply for unspent federal money from the Home Investment Partnership Program that was awarded to the city in previous fiscal years, as far back as 2015, for the senior housing development to move forward. Dave Remy, Director of Public Works, said Tuesday during a city council meeting that he, Ackerman, and an attorney working on behalf of AAA would meet on Friday. The Community Development Office also is waiting for a Columbus consulting group to finalize a plan for the West End target area, a southwest portion of the city, roughly spanning the area of Marion Avenue to South Main Street, bordered by Park Avenue West to the north and Glessner Avenue to the south. It has been previously referred to by officials as the St. Peter's/Ohio Health Mansfield Hospital area. About $225,000 in 2019 CDBG funding has been earmarked for this area.
Wow. Our next article is titled, A Lucas Boy Finds a 1983 Class Ring by Mark Cottle. Jace Sauter was digging for buried treasures in his family's yard. The 6-year-old Lucas boy found something even more important. Jace discovered a 1983 Northmore class ring. Featuring a garnet gemstone, the ring didn't cost that much, but it meant everything to its owner, Yvonne Pollard, a 1983 Northmore graduate now living in Florida, got in touch with the Sauters through Facebook. They're sending the ring to her. I'm going to put it on my finger and never take it off, Pollard said. When they cremate me, it will be cremated with me. Pollard explained the story of how her ring wound up in a yard in Lucas. She attended Pioneer Career and Technology Center in high school. Pollard met a Crestview boy through a few of her friends. My dad told me not to give the ring to a boy, she said. I was 17, so what did I do? I didn't listen to my daddy. As is the case with many teenage romances, the relationship didn't last. Pollard broke up with the boy after 3 weeks. When I asked for my ring back, he would not give it to me, she said. He said he lost it. I said, you need to find my ring. Her ex never produced the ring. Pollard told her dad she lost it to keep him from blowing up at her. She went on with her life and didn't think about the ring anymore. At least until it turned up 37 years later, courtesy of Jace. I love the kid and don't even know him, Pollard said. Jace is one of 3 sons of Andrew and Tiffany Sauter. He and youngest brother Parker, 4, dug up parts of the yard last week. They've been obsessed with digging for days, Tiffany said. They've been looking for treasures. They haven't really found much, but they like to think they do. That changed when Chase found a chain. A few minutes later, he came back to my husband and said he found a ring that goes with the chain, Tiffany said. Andrew cleaned up the ring and posted a picture of it on Facebook, leaving out the year in hopes of finding the true owner. It was a long shot. We don't have any connections to Northmore. The chances of the right person seeing it were not good, Tiffany said. One of Pollard's friends from high school found the post and let her know about it. I didn't believe it. There's no way, Pollard said. This is a lark. Pollard reached out to the Sauters. Andrew made arrangements to send the ring to her. Pollard also asked for a picture of Jace. She was very nice and very excited, Tiffany said. The Sauters tried to convey to Jace the distance from Ohio to Florida. He has since resumed his excavations, though he interrupts his mother's interview with a reporter to ask if he could go jump in puddles. He has always done a fair amount of digging, Tiffany said. Lately, he's been digging deeper holes than he did before. Pollard will be forever grateful. There's no way to thank him, she said. Pollard has a soft spot for kids. She's a pediatric nurse who does home care. Getting her ring back will be a bright spot in these dark times brought on by the coronavirus pandemic. You just don't think something like that will happen to you, Pollard said of the ring adventure. It's beautiful. In all this ugliness, there's this little spot of beauty. Well, our next title is titled, It's Wonderful. Lexington Court Care Resident Treated to Parade by Mark Cottle. The silver pickup rolled past the residents at Lexington Court Care Center, its driver proudly displaying a West Virginia banner. That's my son, Francis Sears said. Sears and many of the residents at Lexington Court Care Center were treated Friday to a parade of family members. Activity Director Brenda Workman came up with the idea. Administrator Jackie Leverett quickly got on board. We started quarantining in March, he said of the COVID-19 pandemic. The only time the residents can go anywhere is for a doctor's appointment. They're just really missing seeing their family. We thought this would be a way for the family members to at least wave hello. Friday's parade boasted a strong turnout of vehicles. Drivers went around the parking lot as the residents, most of them in wheelchairs, lined the front of the facility. Lexington Police, the Mansfield Post of the Ohio Highway Patrol, and the Troy Township Fire Department provided vehicles. Lexington Mayor Brian White also took part in the convoy. We've been watching the weather all day. First, there was a 70% chance of rain, then a 60%, Leverett said. The last update predicted no rain before 4 p.m. We must have done something right to be rewarded, Leverett said of the 2 p.m. event.
Most of the people in the parade carried posted signs for their loved ones. One addressed to Boo Boo said, "We love and miss you." In one car, a man popped up through the sunroof with a sign that read, "Hi, sis." Another sign recognized the staff at Lexington Court Care. A number of pickups carried several people in their beds. Sears' son was one of them. His banner read, "Almost Heaven, Wild, Wonderful, West Virginia." Sears was born in the Mountain State. "It was wonderful," she said of the parade. "I saw all of my kids and my grandkids." As a child, Sears remembers making trips to visit both grandmothers on Memorial Day. She said her husband served in the Army for 2 years. Martha Bauer didn't know if her kids were going to make it to the parade. They did. She held a small American flag as she sat in her wheelchair, waiting for the parade to begin. "Fly, flag, fly," Bauer said as the breeze died down. At 94, Bauer is the last survivor of 5 siblings. Her brother served in the Army. "He was over in Germany," Bauer said. She approved of the idea for a parade. "It's wonderful. I think just wonderful," Bauer said. "Why not?" Our next article is titled "Coaches Weigh In on the Expanded Football Playoffs" by John Spencer. In Mansfield, Steve Haverdill has gotten past the ropes, and he's also been left standing in line when it comes to the VIP party we know as the high school football playoffs. He was Crestview's defensive coordinator in 2018 when the Cougars missed the playoff by a scant .05 computer points. That just made it sweeter last season when he steered the Cats to the postseason as a 6th seed in Division VI as a first-year head coach. Haverdill didn't need an expanded format to get in the door of the playoff club last year, and he wouldn't have welcomed one in 2018, even though he thought it would have benefited Crestview. "Absolutely awful," Haverdill said about the OHSAA's decision to expand the playoff field in each region from 8 teams to 12 teams beginning in 2021. "You should have to earn it. I voted against it. In my opinion, it's the same thing we're doing in society. We're giving everyone a trophy. You should have to earn it." As heartbreaking as it was for us to miss the playoffs in 2018, when you look at our season, our 3 losses were to playoff teams. So you ask yourself, we couldn't beat teams that were playoff teams, so do we really deserve it anyway? I think it's going to be watered down now. You're going to have teams getting in that are 4-6, 3-7. I know it's been on the table for years, but everybody I talked to voted against it. Apparently, Haverdill didn't talk to Clear Fork coach Dave Carroll, whose Colts finished 9th in their region last year and just missed making the playoffs for the 3rd straight year. "When I was in high school in the 70s, virtually no one got in," Carroll said. "I didn't think that was the answer, but I was a little skeptical each time they added teams. The longer you're in it, you get nostalgic and think the old ways is the best way. The proof is in the pudding for me is a couple of things. Number one, the money the state playoffs make is incredible for the OHSAA. Plus, when you host a playoff game, you don't get the gate, but you get the concessions." Community spirit. With more playoff teams added, you change the level of community spirit. Even if it's one and done for a team, the pep rallies, the excitement for the kids, it's great for the community. So really, I'm glad. Why not? On Wednesday, the OHSAA Board of Directors voted unanimously for playoff expansions. The 9-0 affirmative vote was given to a recommendation from the OHSAA staff, which was based on a proposal from the Ohio School Football Coach Association. Like Haverdill, Shelby coach Rob Mahaney voted no on the survey distributed coaches. He thought the proposal was dead after attending a region meeting last December and being told that coaches were overwhelmingly against an expanded playoff field. "I voted against it, but I see the positives of it too," said Mahaney, who led the Whippets to a Mid-Ohio Athletic Conference championship and a Division IV playoff win last year in his debut season at the school. It gets more teams, communities involved, but I also thought it was good where it was, something to strive for as a team. And again, there are going to be almost 400 teams that don't make it, so it's still a big accomplishment to get in. 47% make the playoffs. Football remains the only OHSAA team sport in which not every school qualifies for the postseason, but expansion will increase the number of playoff qualifiers from 224 to 336. Last year, there were 709 schools in Ohio that played 11-man football. That means 47% of all teams will live to see Week 11. My feeling is that our team doesn't have a league championship to play for, being independent, so earning that opportunity to be in the playoffs is pretty special, says Lucas coach Scott Spittler, who led the Cubs to the Division VII state title game last year in their 6th straight playoff appearance. At what point do you lose that? I don't know what that number is. Is it 8 teams? Is it 4? Is it 12? I don't know. I just know the experience of earning the postseason is a special honor the kids are proud of earning. I just don't know at one point if it becomes watered down. Repeated attempts to reach Mansfield senior coach Chioke Bradley for this story were unsuccessful. It would have been interesting to hear where he falls in this debate. His Tigers are coming off the school's first trip to the state championship game and have made the playoffs 5 times in his 10 years at the helm. So they obviously know how to get to the postseason. But had the expanded playoff format been in place the last 4 years, Senior High also would have made the playoffs when they were 6-4 in 2016 and 5-5 in 2018. They finished 12th in their region in both seasons. Good for football. Carroll has dealt with tough luck several times. He had 9-1 teams at Urbana, Danville, and Eaton that fell short of the playoffs. Last year's 6-4 Clear Fork team beat 2 playoff teams in the same region. Bellevue and Galion lost to playoff-bound Shelby in a game that could have gone either way and lost in overtime to Pleasant, another playoff team. I think that team, by what it did during the season against the opponents we played, deserved to be a playoff team, Carroll said of his Colts, so I'm all for expansion. The other reason I'm more for it now than ever before is just the hit football has taken over the last 10 years with concern over concussions. Just the numbers over the last decade, 1 million less kids are playing football. The more we can do to promote football, I'm all for it. Haverhill thinks the OHSAA decision was influenced by the plight of a couple of 10-0 teams, Gibsonburg and Northwood, that did not make the playoffs last year. It might also help the OHSAA recoup money lost when winter sports state tournaments and all spring sports were canceled because of COVID-19. The top 4 seeds in each region will have a first round bye-in the expanded playoffs. The higher seeded teams will have the opportunity to play host during the first and second rounds. But is a bye really a reward? We're not used to the byes we play every week, Haverhill said. That could be a detriment. I'd almost rather be a 5th seed. I want to keep playing. I don't want a bye week. You're used to a rhythm. You get a bye and you get out of rhythm because you've got extra days off. That's a lot of time to lose continuity. 10 regular season games. The championship games in 2021 are expected to end during the same weekend as previously scheduled, December 2 through 5. Schools will still be permitted to play 10 regular season contests. As it stands now, when you make the playoffs, if you're the 8th seed or the 1st seed, that's like jumping in at the district semifinal level of every other sport, Spittler said. When you think about it, that's pretty special to make the playoffs. Carroll doesn't think it will be any less special letting more teams into the party. Anything that might attract kids to the sport is a good thing, he said. I think football is the greatest sport in the world. I think it gets a bad rap. Anything we can do to get kids excited and to play football, I'm all for it. Well, my friends, I have to say, sadly, this concludes the reading of the Mansfield News Journal for Tuesday, May 26th. This is Pam. Please stay safe if you can, and stay in. Be blessed. Make it a great day.